Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another video. As some of you may or may not know, I did start a music channel, Solitary Ronin Music, a few months ago, but recently I decided to delete it and take it down because I just don't have enough time. I barely have enough time now to actually give you enough content on the film channel. So I've taken down the music channel. So apologies for those that subscribed to the music channel and were enjoying my Alphabet of Albums series. So I thought, just for a laugh, I would do my favourite 150 albums as of, January 2021 now. It's an interesting experiment. The maximum number of albums that any artist or band had was 5. That wasn't by design, but nobody has more than 5 albums, and there's a few artists that have 5 albums each. It just kind of worked out that way, that 5 was the maximum. They're kind of in alphabetical order. They're obviously not ranked, because very much like my 150 favourite films, that would be ridiculous and impossible to actually rank them. But I'll maybe point out ones that would be in my top 20 if I actually put them in ranks, even though my top 20 will probably have about 50 or 60 albums in them. So I hope you enjoy this video. You can leave comments below what your 150 favourite albums are. And this is just some kind of apology for deleting my music channel. Who knows, if I ever win the lottery or get my life sorted out, I might restart the music channel when I have more time. So we'll start with the Airborne Toxic Event and All at Once. This is their second album from 2011. I could have put more Airborne Toxic Event albums in, because they're all excellent, but this one, I think, track for track, is the best one. Next is Alice in Chains and Dirt from 92. This is one of the albums that would be in my top 20 if I actually ranked them, but that would make my head explode. This is their best album. It's an absolute classic. Track for track, Alice in Chains were kind of the heaviest of the Seattle bands, one of the big 4 Seattle bands, but Dirt is just so dirty, basically. So many songs about addiction and drugs and disease and mortality. It's absolutely wonderful. Next is At the Drive-In with Relationship of Command. Again, the members of this would split off, and 2 would become Mars Volta, the other members would become Sparta. This is just wonderful. A much imitated album and style. I'm not even sure what you call them. Postmodern hardcore or something, I'm not quite sure. Next is Audioslave's self-titled debut. Audioslave was Chris Cornell from Soundgarden, and the 3 remaining members of Rage Against the Machine. You could argue there's a couple of filler tracks on this, but songs like Cochise and Show Me How to Live and Like a Stone, Shadow in the Sun, I Am the Highway, and The Last Remaining Light, just wonderful stuff. Chris Cornell showing off, another one of the many reasons why he's arguably the greatest vocalist of all time. Next is Beth Gibbons and Rustin Man, Out of Season. Beth Gibbons, the lead singer of Portishead, But this is a wonderful little album, miserable and depressing. That'll probably be a kind of theme of this list. Next is Blood of Abraham, Future Prophets, which is a quintessential early 90s rap album. Again, I said on my music channel, but rap to me had its golden era in the late 80s, early 90s. And Blood of Abraham, this is just a wonderful album. They only ever did two, I believe, this and Idolatry, but Future Prophets is amazing. Next is Glasgow's own The Blue Nile with Hats. Again, they just perfectly encapsulate living in Glasgow, 3 o'clock in the morning, neon light being reflected in the puddles. It's just a beautiful album. Next is Blood on the Tracks, Bob Dylan. Tangled Up in Blue, Simple Twist of Fate, one of my favourite songs of all time, Idiot Wind, storytelling with Lily Rosemary and the Jack of Hearts, Shelter from the Storm, Buckets of Rain, wonderfully depressing. Another Bob Dylan, Highway 61 Revisited, which has Like a Rolling Stone, Ballad of a Thin Man, Highway 61 Revisited, Just Like Tom Thumb's Blues, and the wonderful Desolation Row, which is one of the best long songs in history. I think it's about 13 minutes. It's absolutely wonderful. Then Time Out of Mind by Bob Dylan. This is, for me, his best late period. Probably his best album he's made since about 1980. So miserable, so bleak. Produced by Daniel Lanois. Lovesick, Dirt Road Blues, Standing in the Doorway, Million Miles, Trying to Get to Heaven Before They Close the Door. Not dark yet, but it's getting there. So good. So kind of refreshing as a late period Bob Dylan, and so miserable. Absolutely wonderful. Next is Paul Buchanan, or the lead singer of the Blue Nile, with his solo album Mid-Air. This is the 2-disc special limited edition. This album is so strange. All the songs are only about 2.5 minutes long. The lyrics are just so simple, but they're kind of deceptively simple, and quite moving. There's very little instrumentation in the album. It's strange, but Paul Buchanan's really fragile voice with the simple lyrics kind of make this album quite otherworldly. You have David Byrne and Brian Eno, Everything That Happens Will Happen Today. I mean, I could have had just about every David Byrne album in this list, but this is the only one that makes it. It's perfect. I could listen to it all day long. Again, with Byrne, lots of different sounds, lots of different styles, but just works so well, and it does have beautiful artwork. Then we have a bunch of Nick Cave albums and the Bad Seeds, Henry's Dream, which has Papa Won't Leave You Henry, I Had a Dream Joe, Brother My Cup Is Empty, Christina the Astonishing, about a nun, which is wonderful, When I First Came to Town, John Finn's Wife, Loom of the Land, and the awesome Jack the Ripper. Then we have Murder Ballads by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, strangely enough an album about murder. Again, O'Malley's Bar, which is another wonderful long song about the slaughter of people in a bar in wonderful detail. The Curse of Millhaven, about a little girl, it's absolutely fantastic. But then it ends with a cover of Bob Dylan's Death Is Not the End, with guest stars like Shane MacGowan and Kylie Minogue, which puts a nice touch on the end of the album. Then Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, No More Shall We Part, which is just absolutely gorgeous. The Sorrowful Wife, 15 Feet of Pure White Snow, God Is in the House. Just a fantastic album. And then for me, the greatest double album of all time, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds' Abattoir Blues, and The Lyre of Orpheus. Quite a lot of double albums have tracks you can skip or have a bit of filler, but with the exception of one, the Ballad of the Brown Ape, or the Fable of the Brown Ape, which is okay, the rest of these songs are just absolute classics. It's a double album that is just about perfect, which is hard to do for double albums. And then his second to last album, Skeleton Tree, which halfway between the making of his teenage son died. It's an amazing album. It has just this bleak melancholy tone to it. The last two songs, Distant Sky and Skeleton Tree, are arguably two of the greatest songs he's ever done, and that's saying something. Again, I could have had a lot more Nick Cave albums on it, but it worked out to be 5. Then we have Chris Cornell, his first solo album, Euphoria Morning, which originally was released as Euphoria Morning, which didn't really make too much sense because the record label wouldn't let him put the letter U in. Again, just shows off why he was so great and why he's still missed terribly. And then we have an album from this year, bizarrely. It's The Church of the Cosmic Skull with Everyone's Going to Die. This is their third album. Again, I could have put their other two albums on because they are just wonderful, kind of 70s retro psychedelic, and they've built this whole persona of being a cult, which is wonderful. This was released, I think, in January 2020, and it's really prophetic with obviously the Everyone's Going to Die and Living in a Bubble tracks. But, do you believe in magic, fantasy? A great album. And they're really friendly, you can get in touch with them because they're obviously just a small band, but still wonderful. Next, it's Astral Disaster by Coil. Again, strange band, strange songs. The Sea Priestess is the standout track, I Don't Want to Be the One. Electric nightmare music. Then Coil, The Angelic Conversation. I did a video on this because this is the soundtrack from Derek Jarman's 1985 film of the same name. This has Coil's music, natural sounds, and Dame Judi Dench, before she was Dame Judi Dench, reciting Shakespeare sonnets. It's a kind of transcendental, metaphysical, dreamlike, disturbing album. Give you nightmares. Next is Leonard Cohen with the songs of Leonard Cohen. Leonard Cohen's one of my very favourites. Cezanne, Master Song, Winter Lady, The Stranger Song, Sisters of Mercy, So Long Marianne, Hey That's No Way to Say Goodbye, Stories of the Street Teachers, One of Us Cannot Be Wrong. Classic after classic. Then the first Leonard Cohen album I ever heard, Changed My Life, Songs of Love and Hate. Avalanche, Last Year's Man, Dress Rehearsal Rag, Diamonds in the Mine, Love Calls You By Your Name, Famous Blue Raincoat, which might be the greatest song ever written. Sing Another Song Boys, Joan of Arc, which, yes, is about Joan of Arc. Then we have Leonard Cohen, Various Positions, which has the wonderful If It Be Your Will, and Hallelujah, which has been covered by everybody. Then we have Songs from a Room by Leonard Cohen, which has the wonderful Bird on a Wire, Story of Isaac, A Bunch of Lonesome Heroes, The Partisan, Seems So Long Ago, Nancy, You Know Who I Am, Lady Midnight, which is about death. Cheers always. And then I'm Your Man by Leonard Cohen, which is perfect. First We Take Manhattan, Ain't No Cure for Love, Everybody Knows, I'm Your Man, Take This Waltz, Jazz Police, I Can't Forget, and Tower of Song, which Nick Cave covered. Then we have Creedence Clearwater Revival, Green River. Again, I could have put more CCR albums in. Green River, Commotion, Tombstone Shadow, Wrote a Song for Everyone, which has been covered a lot as well. The seminal Bad Moon Rising, Lodi, Sinister Purpose, which is absolutely fantastic. Next we have the Crusaders and Free as the Wind. Just a beautiful jazz, soul, funk instrumental album. Sweet and Sour is the standout track, 8 minutes 55. Absolutely perfect. Again, I could have put more Crusaders albums on as well. This is Da Lynch Mob with Gorillas in the Mist. Again, another wonderful early 90s rap album. Buck the Devil, Lost in the System, You and Your Heroes, Freedom Got an AK, Ain't Got No Class, Who You Gonna Shoot With That, Ankle Blues. Fantastic. Very sweary, but fantastic. Then we have the Dead Weather's debut, Whorehound. This is a supergroup with Jack White, with White Stripes, and Alison Moss Art of the Kills, which is absolutely wonderful. They've made 3 albums, but for me the debut is still the best. Next is DJ Crush and Toshinori Kondo with Ki Oku, which is an album that I only recently heard of in the last 6-9 months, and it's amazing. It shouldn't really work. DJ Crush kind of just puts down beats, and Kondo is a Japanese trumpet player. It's just all instrumental, shouldn't really work, but it's just amazing. It's an album you can just put on and just drift away to another universe. Then we have The Doors with Morrison Hotel. Again, probably not the Doors album that everybody else would pick. It doesn't have When the Music's Over, it doesn't have The End on it, but it has Peace Frog, and Peace Frog is amazing. The hook on Peace Frog is just Third Base, another early 90s rap crew, sampled just a little bit of Peace Frog. It's just so good. Also has Ship of Fools, You Make Me Real, Waiting for the Sun, Queen of the Highway. It's just a great album. Again, not full of their hits, but for me it's my favourite Doors album. Then we have the Earl of Mars self-titled album, which is kind of Frank Zappa if he played metal. Wonderful titles: Poor Whore's Petition, The Astronomer Pig, which is great, Cornelius, Ichiba, Otto the Magnificent, The Last Glass Eye Maker is wonderful, The Mirrored Staircase. It's a great wee album. Then we have Knives Don't Have Your Back, Emily Haines and the Soft Skeleton. Emily Haines is the lead singer of Metric, who will be appearing later. Again, poetic, beautiful, spare, miserable, absolutely wonderful. Next we have A Fistful of Sounds by Ennio Morricone, which is pretty much the soundtracks from the first two Dollars films in the trilogy, and Once Upon a Time in the West. Again, for me, Ennio Morricone is the greatest film composer of all time, arguably the greatest composer of the 20th century. Again, I could have just had loads of Ennio Morricone on this list, but this is the one that includes arguably my favourite film of all time, Once Upon a Time in the West. And the other Morricone is The Legend of 1900. Tornatore's best film, in my opinion, even though everybody gives Cinema Paradiso that title. But Legend 1900 is an amazing film, and it's one of Morricone's best scores, and that's obviously saying something. Next is Savage by the Eurythmics from 1987, 88. I've always loved this album. Beethoven, You Have Placed a Chill in My Heart is wonderful. Shame, Savage, Put the Blame on Me. Great album. Then we have my favourite Faith No More album, Angel Dust, which is all over the place. It's experimental, it's got so many different sounds. Mike Patton's vocals, again, he just lets rip with his trademark different sounds. Coming off the smash hit that was the real thing, but this is, you probably either love this album or hate it. Obviously I love it. Funkadelic Let's Take It to the Stage. Again, I could have had Maggot Brain. I could have had lots of Funkadelic albums, but this is Let's Take It to the Stage, which is Have Good to Your Ear Hole, Better by the Pound, Be My Beach, No Head, No Backstage Pass, Let's Take It to the Stage, Get Off Your Ass and Jam, Baby I Owe You Something Good. Lots of fun with George Clinton and the boys. Next is Thea Gilmore with the Lipstick Conspiracies. Again, I could have put a lot more Thea Gilmore, singer-songwriter from down south. Generation Y, The Resurrection Men, See If They Applaud is wonderfully miserable. Forgotten Exit Route, My Own Private Riot, Edge of My Seat, Bullet in Britain's fantastic, Land of the Three is wonderful. Thea Gilmore's Songs of the Gutter, or Songs from the Gutter, which is a 2-disc version. Again, just lots of great singer-songwritery stuff. For someone so young, she has an pretty impressive body of work. Next is Gary Newman, Savage, Songs from a Broken World. I could have put Splinter, Songs from a Broken Mind as well, but Savage, this album just blew me away when I first heard it. Obviously I was kind of familiar with these 80s electronica stuff, but this is just so good. This is a very nice addition as well. This really blew me away. You can kind of see perhaps influence a little bit with Trent Reznor, Nine Inch Nails, who was Gary Newman's character witness and his friend when he became an American. It's just a stunning work. Then we have Grand Tone Music, which is one of Nina Ramsby's side projects, which are absolutely fantastic. That's Grand Tone Music, and this is Grand Tone Music New Direction. Still to pick up the third one, which is quite rare, but I think it is on the way. These are just wonderful albums. They're hard to describe, but they're just fantastic. Next is Helloween, Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2, which isn't hard to describe. This is one of the greatest examples of power metal. The Keeper of the Seven Keys is another example of a long song that's fantastic. Save Us, Ego Fly Free, Dr. Stein, I Want Out, classic late 80s power metal. Then we have Honeycrack, Prozac. I believe this is the only album ever made, featuring the guitarist from the Wild Hearts, CJ Wildheart, who's there. Again, great indie rocky with wonderful riffs, like Wild Hearts pretty much, perhaps not as heavy. Then we have Imperial Teen with Seasick. This is keyboard player Robbie Bottom's side project from Faith No More. Again, I can't really separate these albums. I could have easily put all 5 of their albums in because they're just wonderful. They've got 2 male vocalists, 2 female vocalists, so that gives you a lot of range and a lot of diversity. This is another album by them, Feel the Sound. Again, I could have put any of their albums in really because they are just fantastic. They're my favourite band that not a lot of people know about. And then we have the seminal Iron Maiden with Iron Maiden. Again, I could have put their first 7 albums in. I didn't. I just put in 5. Again, there was no limit on the number of albums. It's just worked out that 5 is the maximum, just by coincidence. These are great covers as well. Seminal covers. This is Number of the Beast, the first album, Bruce Dickinson on vocals, and of course the band really took off. Also 22 Acacia Avenue, The Prisoner, Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills, Hallowed Be Thy Name. Classic stuff. And then Peace of Mind, another great cover. Where Eagles Dare, Revelations, Flight of Icarus, Die With Your Boots On, The Trooper, Still Life, Quest for Fire, Sun and Steel, and then To Tame a Land, which is the Iron Maiden's version of June. Again, Iron Maiden were the second huge band in my musical life after Queen. Queen were the first band that kind of went music is more than just background. Then Iron Maiden were the second one. And Power Slave, possibly my favourite Iron Maiden album. If not that, it's Peace of Mind. Aces High, 2 Minutes to Midnight, Lost for Words, which is a really good instrumental. Flash of the Blade, The Duelist, Back in the Village, and the Back in the Village, and the Back in the Village again. Power Slave and Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, which might be the greatest long song of all time that still works. 13 minutes, based on the Coleridge play or poem, and seems like it's a 6-minute song. It's difficult to do. And then Somewhere in Time, with amazing artwork. This has Wasted Years, Heaven Can Wait, Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner, Stranger in a Strange Land, and a wonderful historic lesson on Alexander the Great. Then we have 2 albums again, I just couldn't separate them because they're both brilliant. It's Jeremy Irons and the Rat Gang Malibus, which is one of the great band names of all time. Again, I think they've only done these 2 albums. This is Spirit Knife, kind of stoner doomy metal, and this is Bloom. Both great albums. Both albums I could listen to all day. And then we have probably my favourite band, that most underrated band in world history. It's King's X. I do love power trios, and this is Power Trio from Texas. This is their debut, Out the Silent Planet, from 1988. 88. And then the first album that I heard from them and just fell in love with them instantly is Gretchen Goes to Nebraska, which is a great title. Some of their songs are great titles as well. Everybody Knows a Little Bit of Something, The Difference, In the Garden of St Anne's on the Hill. Don't Believe It, it's easier said than done. Amazing album, amazing band that really should be more popular. Dogman, another great grungy King's X album. And Tapehead, again another wonderful album. Groove Machine, which they usually open on tour with. Then Living Colour, with their amazing 1990 album Time's Up. Just hit after hit. Love Rears Its Ugly Head was a huge single. Type has just got a ridiculous groove. Fight the Fight, Solace of You, This Is the Life. Great stuff. Machine Head's debut, Burn My Eyes, which is just amazing. Literally blew me away the first time I heard it. Davidian, Old, Thousand Lies, None But My Own, The Rage to Overcome, Death Church, Blood for Blood, I'm Your God Now. Just Nation on Fire. Amazing. Blood for Blood. One of the greatest debuts of all time. Then we have Marillion, Clutching at Straws. This is Fish's last album with the band, because he fed up with fame. This is so miserable but so wonderful. Warm Wet Circles, White Russian, Incommunicado, Sugar Mice, The Last Straw. It's just tremendous, miserable, wonderful album. Then we have Mark Lanegan with Bubblegum. How much more black could that album be? None more black. Methamphetamine Blues, Driving Death Valley Blues, a lot of blues. When Your Number Is Up, tremendous. Mark Lanegan again, I could have put a lot more Mark Lanegan on. This is the Mark Lanegan Band Blues Funeral. I think this is the first Lanegan solo thing that I bought. He was in Screaming Trees, who are another Seattle band. I never really got into them. It's the solo stuff that's just so downbeat and so wonderful. I mean, it opens with the Gravedigger song, which is just amazing. Bleeding Muddy Water, Grey Goes Black, Riot in My House, Ode to Sad Disco, Phantasmagoria Blues, Harbourview Hospital, Deep Black Vanishing Train. I mean, it's just absolutely wonderful. Then we have the Mars Volta, who were born from the ashes of At the Drive-In. This is their debut, Deloused in the Comatorium. Again, Omar Rodriguez Lopez and Cedric Bixler on vocals. Just an insane band. Prog. They do the quiet, loud dynamic better than anyone. Yes, they can be a little bit up their own sphincters at times. They can be frustrating, but they can also be completely exhilarating. They only made 6 albums. I think I've got 5 of them on this list because they're just amazing. This is Francis the Mute, which was so long they couldn't actually fit the title track on the album, so they released that as part of a single, and that's awesome as well. Again, they have songs, titles that are in like different parts and different movements, completely prog. Yes, they go in for a little bit of guitar wankery, but they are amazing and explosive. This is Amputecture. They have lyrics that don't really make sense, but they kind of make sense. And they have tremendous artwork. This is the Bedlam and Goliath, which is a whole album based around an experience they had with a Ouija board. And this is Octahedron, again tremendous artwork. This is the weird album because there weren't really long songs on it, and they were almost verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, verse, fade out. So the first time you listen to it, it was weird because it was actually kind of normal. But then when you actually listen to it again, it's another masterpiece. Then we have Metallica's Kill 'Em All, their rough debut, but it's such an important album, a seminal album in the thrash movement, especially the Bay Area thrash movement in the early 80s. Metallica were the next band along with Slayer after Iron Maiden. That kind of went, hold on a second, this is life changing. Their second album, Ride the Lightning, which is such a jump in maturity from Kill 'Em All. After all, the first, they wanted to call Kill 'Em All Metal Up Your Ass. Ride the Lightning is amazing. Fight Fire with Fire, Ride the Lightning, For Whom the Bell Tolls, Fade to Black, Trapped Under Ice, Creeping Death, and the wonderful Call of Cthulhu, inspired by H.P. Lovecraft, of course. And then I have Master of Puppets, arguably the greatest metal album of all time. Battery, Master of Puppets, The Thing That Should Not Be, again a little nod to Lovecraft. Welcome Home Sanitarium, Disposable Heroes, one of the greatest war songs. Leper Messiah, Orion, Damage Incorporated, just perfect. And then probably my favourite Metallica album, And Justice for All, which is proggy. They took songs to their nth degree as far as length, but blackened the title track, Eye of the Beholder, One, where they did their first MTV video, The Shortest Straw, Harvester of Sorrow, Frayed Ends of Sanity, To Live Is to Die, and Dyer's Eve. Just absolutely amazing. So bleak, so dark, so depressing, wonderful. Then we have the aforementioned Metric. Again, I could have put all their albums on here. This is Old World Underground, Where Are You Now? With IOU, Hustle Rose, Sucksexy, Combat Baby, Wet Blanket, The List, Dead Disco. Wonderful. Then Live It Out by Metric. Empty, Glass Ceiling, Handshakes, Patriarch on a Vespa, Monster Hospital, Too Little Too Late, Poster of a Girl, Police in the Private. Just wonderful. Go check them out on YouTube, they've got plenty of videos. If you don't like them, I'll give you your money back. This is Synthetica by Metric. To be fair, I think there's only like 3 albums I didn't put on the list. Again, I think they ended up with 4, not 5, but I could have easily put 5. And Metric, Pagans in Vegas. Again, it's very difficult to rate Metric albums because they are all absolutely wonderful. Then we have Mindfunk with Dropped. This is their second album. I originally saw Mindfunk supporting King's X, and I thought I'm going to have to get their debut album instantly. Their debut album was kind of a bit dirty psychedelic rock and roll. Their second one was a bit more grungy. Their third one was more doomy, sludgy. I think they've only done 3. This is The Misfits, Walk Among Us, which is one of my favourite titles of all time. I don't really know why, but it's just wonderful. This is classic Glenn Danzig Misfits. 20 Eyes, I Turned Into a Martian, All Hell Breaks Loose, Vampira, Nike Go Go, Hate Breeders, Mummy, Can I Go Out and Kill Tonight, Night of the Living Dead, Skulls, Violent World, Devil's Whorehouse, Astro Zombies and Brain Eaters. Just classic sing-along Misfits. Then we have Nail Bomb, Point Blank, which is one of the most extreme albums you'll listen to, by Max Cavalera and Alex Newport of Fudge Tunnel. They only did one album, did a live album as well. It's just so brutal. Wasting Away, 24-hour Bullshit, Blind and Lost, Some of Your Achievements, Cockroaches, For F's Sake, World of Shit, Exploitation, Religious Cancer, Sick Life, Shit Pinata. It's so good, but you do feel violated after it. Then we have 9 Inch Nails, The Downward Spiral. This is deluxe version, all the way back from 1994. Trent Reznor is pretty much a genius. This album is just amazing. Mr. Self-Destruct, Piggy, Heresy, March of the Pigs, Closer, which a version of with Coil was used in the title sequence of Seven by David Fincher. Ruiner, The Becoming, A Warm Place is a beautiful instrumental. Eraser, Reptile, Hurt, which was made famous when Johnny Cash did a cover of it. Just a masterpiece of an album. Broken, so by 9 Inch Nails, again an EP but wonderful. Happiness and Slavery is one of my favourite songs of all time, and completely relevant if you work for a living. And their debut, Pretty Hate Machine, Head Like a Hole, Terrible Lie, Sanctified, Something I Can Never Have, Ring Finger, The Only Time, excellent. Then we have some more 90s rap. This is Sleeping with the Enemy by Paris. Arguably the most consistent rapper of all time, even though he hasn't released anything for about 5 years. Contains the classic Bush Killer, Conspiracy of Silence, Gorillas in the Mist, Coffee, Donuts and Death. Just wonderful incendiary album. And then he followed that up with Sonic Jihad, which again is just absolutely wonderful. AWOL, Evil, What Would You Do? It's just another tremendous Paris album. Again, I could have perhaps had another couple Paris albums in, but I didn't. Pearl Jam 10, this is deluxe version. Again, another amazing debut. Once, Even Flow, Alive, Why Go, Black, Jeremy. I mean, just hit after hit after hit. You'd think they would become the most popular Seattle band, and they kind of ended up shunning the spotlight. And then we have Verses in Vitalogy. Again, this is a special edition. There's the standard version of Verses, which is wonderful, and then Vitalogy, or Vitalogy, which is just amazing. This was kind of a response to Kurt Cobain's death, so it was really bleak and really wonderful. Last Exit, Spin the Black Circle, Not For You, Tremor Christ, Nothing Man, Better Man, Corduroy, Immortality. Just tremendous stuff. Again, I could have perhaps had... Pearl Jam aren't the greatest album band. They obviously have great songs within those albums, but those 3 albums I think are their best. Track for track consistency, I think they're probably their best albums. Then we have Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here. Again, most people go for Dark Side of the Moon, but I think Dark Side of the Moon is a bit overrated. This only has 5 songs on it, and 2 of those songs are Shine On You Crazy Diamond, parts 1 to 5 and then parts 6 to 9. But Welcome to the Machines, a really good song. Have a Cigar and Wish You Were Here. Just a beautiful album. And then Animals. Again, people might pick The Wall or Dark Side of the Moon. Again, this only has 5 songs. Pigs on the Wing, parts 1 and 2, Dogs, Pigs and Sheep. That's why it's called Animals. But really bleak, really cold, really depressing, really wonderful. Again, the final cut almost made the final cut. Again, that's the Pink Floyd album everybody hates because it's really just a John Waters. Roger Waters album, but again, so bleak, so cold, so wonderful. Next is Primus and Frizzle Fry. This is Primus at kind of their most focused, their least self-indulgent, and that's why it's, for me, their best album. You could argue Sailing the Seas of Cheese as well. To Defy the Laws of Tradition, Groundhog's Day, Too Many Puppies, Mr. Know-All, Frizzle Fry, John the Fisherman, which is one of their hit singles, The Toys Go Winding Down, Pudding Time, Harold of the Rocks. It's just an album that I listen to fairly constantly, which probably explains a lot. Pussifer, The Conditions of My Parole, one of Maynard James Keenan from Tool side projects, along with A Perfect Circle. Pussifer almost kind of started out as a kind of joke band with songs about female genitalia and erections and stuff, but they've actually turned into quite a beautiful little band, and Conditions of My Parole are just amazing. This collaboration with Karina Round just gives you that female voice, which again gives you a bit more diversity and a bit more range. The title track's wonderful, the whole album's just wonderful, and it's got a great cover. And then we go into Queen again. They could add more. So The Day at the Races, which is always kind of underrated, I think. But Tie Your Mother Down, You Take My Breath Away, Long Away, The Millionaire Waltz, You and I, Somebody to Love, White Man, Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy, Drowsin', Teo Toriati. I mean, there's not a lot of filler there. Then News of the World, which was tough because it does have one of the worst songs that ever did, is Get Down Make Love, which I cannot stand. But the rest of the album is so good, you kind of just have to forgive that. We Will Rock You, We Are the Champions, but Sheer Heart Attack, All Dead, Spread Your Wings, Fight from the Inside, Sleeping in the Sidewalk, Who Needs You, It's Late, My Melancholy Blues. I mean, it's just a wonderful album apart from that one song which I cannot stand, but it has to make the list for the rest of the album. And then another really underrated one for me, Queen 2, which yes, still has a bit of Led Zeppelin in it, but Father to Son, White Queen, Someday, One Day, Losing the End, Ogre Battle, Nevermore, The March of the Black Queen might be my favourite Queen song, Funny How Love Is, and the longer version of Seven Seas of Rye. I don't think it gets the credit it deserves. Then Night of the Opera, because it has my favourite Queen song on it, and it's not Bohemian Rhapsody. Death on Two Legs is just absolutely amazing. Lazing on a Sunday Afternoon, I'm in Love with My Car is funny, but it's still a great song. You're My Best Friend. It's 39, which is actually sung by Brian May. Freddie just gives backing vocals, which is about science fiction. It's so good. Sweet Lady, Seaside Rendezvous, The Prophet's Song, Love of My Life, Good Company, Bohemian Rhapsody. Yes, we could have did without God Save the Queen, but I suppose they are called Queen. And then Sheer Heart Attack. which of course doesn't have the song Sheer Heart Attack on it, News of the World does. But it's got Brighton Rock, Killer Queen, Tenement Funster, Flick of the Wrist, Lily of the Valley, Now I'm Here, In the Lap of the Gods, and In the Lap of the Gods Revisited, which are absolutely amazing. Stone Cold Crazy, Dear Friends, Misfire, it's even going to bring back that Leroy Brown. And She Makes Me, Stormtrooper and Stilettos. Tremendous album. Then we have Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime. Possibly the greatest concept album ever made. Arguably the greatest power metal album ever made. A wonderful story. Great songs. They did release a sequel some years later which just didn't have the same impact. This is an album, because it starts with the hero waking up in hospital and it ends with him being in hospital, you can just listen to it in a big loop for days on end. Next is another great debut, Rage Against the Machine, self-titled. Again, I wasn't into Rage Against the Machine at the time, it was only years later I went back, and they are so good. Their songs are sadly still relevant. Also has Bomb Track, Killing in the Name Of, Bullet in the Head, Fistful of Steel, Know Your Enemy. It's just wonderful. Then we have Rammstein, Rise Rise. Again, I'm surprised there wasn't more Rammstein in the list. But this is, for me, their best album track for track. Mein Teil, or My Part, is wonderful. Kinda Loosed, Los, America, Moscow. Onadish is absolutely wonderful. Next we have Rancid with And Out Come the Wolves, kind of postmodern punk. Again, 19 tracks, but everyone's a winner, which is very difficult to do, because when you start getting above like 12 tracks in an album, you're pushing whether they're actually going to be quality. But And Out Come the Wolves is a masterpiece, as is Let's Go. This one has 22 tracks. 23 tracks, and they're all fantastic. Sidekick, Radio, Tenderloin, Black and Blue, St Mary, Dope Sick Girl. It's just hit after hit after hit after hit. Rush 2112. This is the deluxe edition. Yeah, 2112, another classic long song. The title track's like 21 minutes long. It's made up of 7 parts. It's just amazing. And then the second half is just 5 normal songs. 2112 has been in my life for 30 odd years, and it'll always be in my life. I could literally listen to the title track all day long. And then we have Rush, Hold Your Fire from 1987. This is the Rush album most Rush fans absolutely hate. And it's a strange album because I don't like the production on it. I don't like the guitar sound on it. You can hardly hear Alex Lifeson's guitar at all. I don't like the drum sound on it. Neil Peart's drums don't sound great. But it's one of my favourite albums of all time, and would possibly be in this imaginary top 20, which will have 50 albums in it. And I can't really explain why. It's just the lyrics by Peart are just so zen, and there's just an amazing feeling you get from those lyrics. So despite the production that I can't stand, despite the guitar sound I can't stand, despite the drum sound I can't stand, there's just something about that album that is just magical. And that's it's an album for me that really sums up the power of music. The fact that you can't explain why you love an album, and it has everything on it that I don't like, but I still absolutely adore it, and it doesn't make any sense, but that's kind of music. Then we have St Vincent with the simply entitled Marry Me, which is so wonderful. St. Vincent is just so talented. She's a great guitar player. She's quirky and strange. Her music is quirky and strange. Again, I could have probably had a couple more of her albums in this list. But here's Mass Seduction, which she even released as a kind of remix of Mass Education. But for me, might be her best album. Pills, Mass Seduction, Los Angeles, New York, Fear the Future, just wonderful at her quirky best. Next is Salt, with the aforementioned Nina Ramsey from Grand Tone Music. This was the first experience of her that I had. She's now a man. But this is just so good, kind of Swedish indie rock guitar. She's just got a great voice. This is also Tate. And this is Salt, Delay Me Down and Make Me Wawa, which is wonderful as well. Suppose, Into Water, Less Assured, Fragile. Just, if you can get your hands on these, you should give them a go, because they are amazing. Speaking of amazing, this might be my favourite band of the last 10-15 years. It's Samsara Blues Experiment. They're German. They just released their 5th and final album, which probably, if I do this list next year, it will be on the top 150 as well. They're kind of stoner, doom, space rock. This is Revelation and Mystery. They do have great albums. There's just something about their stuff that literally does transcend you to a different reality. Flipside Apocalypse, Hang on the Wire, Into the Black, Thirsty Moon, Satin and Shatten, Revelation and Mystery. Again, they have some 12-minute, 15-minute, 20-minute songs, but they're just amazing. Arguably their best one, Waiting for the Flood, which has a wonderful Charles Basinski painting in the front. You should check out Basinski, he's one of my favourite artists. Shingara, Waiting for the Flood, Don't Belong in Brahim's Lament. It's only got 4 tracks on it, but it's absolutely amazing. It's just, I mean, they're a band that you can listen to on repeat and you'll always hear something new in their songs. They're just amazing. This is Long Distance Trip. Again, sadly, they announced their retirement after their new album. But very much like Mars Volta, sometimes you're better just leaving at the top. And this is One with the Universe, which again only has 5 tracks, but they're just amazing. Vipassana, Sadhguru Returns, Glorious Days, One with the Universe, and Eastern Sun and Western Moon. I didn't put their brand new one on it because I'm going to need more time with it, but it'll probably eventually go on there. Gil Scott Heron, Pieces of a Man. Again, just so downbeat from 1971. Obviously his famous song, The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. Home is Where the Hatred Is. Pieces of a Man is just heartbreaking. The Needle's Eye, just a great 70s album. Then we have Slayer, Seasons in the Abyss, again with Metallica, but 1986 kind of changed my life. Hits like War Ensemble, Blood Red, Spirit in Black, Expendable Youth, Dead Skin Mask, Hallowed Point, Skeletons of Society, Temptation, Born of Fire, Seasons in the Abyss. It's hit after hit. There was South of Heaven. I mean, look at those happy faces. Again, this has South of Heaven, Silent Scream, which is the best song about abortion ever written, Live Undead, Behind the Crooked Cross. It's just amazing. Mandatory Suicide. They did do war songs so well. Ghosts of War, Read Between the Lies, Cleanse the Soul, Dissident Aggressor, which is a Judas Priest cover, and Spill the Blood. And their seminal speed thrash masterpiece from 1986, Rain and Blood. Only about half an hour long, but absolutely seminal. Angel of Death, about Joseph Mengele, the Nazi doctor. Piece by Piece, Necrophobic, Altar of Sacrifice, Jesus Saves, Criminally Insane, Reborn, Epidemic, which is pure boogie, Postmortem, and Raining Blood. I mean, albums that change your life. And then Divine Intervention, which I'd kind of taken a break from buying new Slayer albums. Heard this, it kind of pummeled me the first time I heard it, but now it's just so good. It's their album all about serial killers, including 213, which is Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment number, but Killing Fields, Sex, Murder, Art, Ditto Head is just savage, Divine Intervention is the ballad, Serenity and Murder, Mind Control, just amazing stuff. Next is another band that I've recently got into, relatively recently, last 6 months or so. Again, I can't separate their albums. They've got a new album out this month. It's Sown, who are kind of Swedish. This is Cognitive. Again, their songs are a bit samey, but they're so good, it really doesn't matter. The great lead vocalist. This is Tellurian, which has a really disturbing cover. It's a rhino eating little people, if you can see that. They're just amazing. They're kind of... I mean, people said they're kind of like Tool, but they're not really. But they're just so good, and I can't not have any of their albums in this list. So I've pretty much put all their albums in this list. This is Laika Revisited, which is the remixed version of Laika. This is Sectarian, which is awesome. Lucidity, God's Acre, Sister, Paragon. I mean, every album, track for track, is just wonderful, and I can't really decide between the albums, so this was their latest before the one that's coming out in a couple of weeks, Lotus, which again is just absolutely wonderful. Next is two classics from Soundgarden. This is Bad Motorfinger, which is just amazing. Rusty Cage, which again was covered by Johnny Cash. Outshine, Slaves and Bulldozers, Jesus Christ Pose, which is amazing. Face Pollution, Somewhere, Searching with My Good Eye Closed. A Room 1,000 Years Wide, Mind Riot, Drawing Flies, Holy Water, New Damage. Absolutely wonderful again, another one that would probably be in my top 20. And the follow-up, Super Unknown, with the hit Black Hole Sun, which kind of propelled them to superstardom for a while. Mailman, My Wave, Let Me Drown, The Day I Tried to Live is just amazing. Spoon Man, which does have a spoon solo. Then the Staple Singers with the Staple Swingers. How good is that cover? How good is that album title? This is a Perfect World, What's Your Thing, You've Got to Earn It, You're Going to Make Me Cry, Little Boy, How Do You Move a Mountain, Almost, I'm a Lover, Love is Plentiful, Heavy Makes You Happy, I Like the Things About You, and Give a Hand, Take a Hand. No matter how terrible a day you've had, if you put on the Staple Singers, it'll put a smile on your face. I mean, there's Pops. Sadly, Mavis is the only one left, but so good. They've been through so much. And this is Staple Singers, City in the Sky. Back Road into Town is heartbreaking. City in the Sky, Washington, We're Watching You. Something Ain't Right, Today Was Tomorrow, Yesterday. My Main Man, There Is a God, Blood Pressure. If it ain't one thing, it's another. Who Made the Man, Getting Too Big for Your Britches. I mean, I'm not a religious person in any way, shape or form. They do sing about God, but it doesn't matter because they're just so awesome. How can you not like the Staple Singers? Then we have Steely Dan with The Royal Scam. Again, I could have probably put more Steely Dan in this list. Kid Charlemagne. I mean, Larry Carlton plays in this record like he does in the Crusaders. Freeze the Wind. Kid Charlemagne is just amazing. Caves of Altamira. Don't Take Me Alive. The guitar solo that starts that is just incredible. The Fez. Everything You Did in the title track, The Royal Scam. Just absolutely amazing. And then we have a soundtrack by Angelo Badalamenti, and it's not Twin Peaks. It's The Straight Story, surprisingly. It's a David Lynch film. People say it's the most unusual David Lynch film because it's almost normal. But Badalamenti's score, I could literally listen to this all day long. It's just simple and beautiful and just absolutely amazing. We're getting there. Just Talking Heads, Little Creatures. Again, I could have probably put a couple more Talking Heads on here. And Give Me Back My Name, Creatures of Love, The Lady Don't Mind, Perfect World, Stay Up Late, Television Man, Road to Nowhere. And look at those outfits. Then we have a couple of Testament. The big four of thrash is Metallica, Slayer, Anthrax and Megadeth, but I would have Testament in the big four because they're just so good, so consistent. I mean, in the last 20 years they've been making the best stuff. And this has Low, Hail Mary, Trail of Tears, Shades of War, Dogface Gods. Again, I could have probably had more Testament in here. And this is The Gathering by Testament from 1999. This is the one that had Dave Lombardo from Slayer on drums. It's just an amazing album. DNR, Do Not Resuscitate. It's a brilliant opener. Down for Life, Eyes of Wrath, True Believer, 3 Days in Darkness, Legions of the Dead, Careful What You Wish For, Allegiance, Sunshine Eyes. Just an amazing album. Then we have Therapy, Infernal Love. Again, Therapy have made so many really good albums, but Infernal Love is one of their best. And if you've got Infernal Love, you might as well have Trouble Gum, which is probably even better. Again, so many great songs. Stop It, You're Killing Me, Die Laughing, Unbeliever, Lunacy Booth, Isolation is a cover. Trigger Inside is seminal. One of the great 90s albums. Then if They Might Be Giants, John Henry. They always do wonderful fun songs. Their albums are always like 20 tracks or something like that. Again, difficult to keep consistency, but they certainly do with John Henry. Again, I could have put another couple of They Might Be Giants albums. This is Flood, which was the first They Might Be Giants I ever heard. Again, 19 tracks. Birdhouse in Your Soul is famous. Istanbul, Not Constantinople is famous. Minimum Wage is wonderful. Road Movie to Berlin. Sapphire Bullets of Pure Love. Just wonderful, fun stuff. Then we have Tool with Enema, or Anima. Again, some of their little skits are a bit annoying, but the overall feel of the album, and there's a shot of Bill Hicks, who was pals with Maynard and pals with the band. Stinkfist and 46 and 2 and Third Eye, Push It. It's just an amazing album, but not as amazing as Lateralis, which again would be in my top 10 probably if I had a top 10. It's just the very definition of a masterpiece. Takes you on a journey. It's just an incredible album. This was the first Tool album I ever heard, and couldn't go back after that. Even got a Tool t-shirt on. Lateralis is just amazing. The Grudge, Eon Blue Apocalypse, The Patient, Mantra, Schism, Parabol, Parabola, Ticks and Leeches, Lateralis, Disposition, Reflection, Triad, and Feed the Ope. It's just an amazing album. And then we have 10,000 Days, which people were kind of disappointed with, but it's absolutely wonderful. Jambi, Vicarious, the 10,000 Days, Wings for Marie, The Pot. It's just an amazing album as well. Then we have a little run of Tom Waits, Rain Dogs, which again is another example. It's 19 tracks, but they're all amazing. Small Change, Tom Waits, Tom Trobert's Blues, Four Sheets to the Wind in Copenhagen, which Rod Stewart covered bizarrely. Step Right Up, Jitterbug Boy, Sharing a Curbstone with Chucky Weiss, Robert Marchese, Paul Body, and The Mug and Artie. I Wish I Was in New Orleans in the Ninth Ward. The Piano Has Been Drinking, Not Me. Invitation to the Blues, which is wonderful. Pasties in a G-String at the 2 o'clock Club, which is hilarious. Small Change got rained on with his own 38, which is just a wonderful track as well. Then The Heart of Saturday Night, Tom Waits, just beautiful album. Looking for the Heart of Saturday Night and the Ghosts of Saturday Night, After Hours at Napoleon's Pizza House. Blue Valentine with Tom Waits. Red Shoes by the Drugstore, Christmas Card from a Hooker in Minneapolis is just amazing. Romeo is Bleeding is amazing. $29 is amazing. Wrong Side of the Road is amazing. Whistling Past the Graveyard is outstanding. Kentucky Avenue is beautiful. A Sweet Little Bullet from a Pretty Blue Gun. Just another sensational album. Again, I could have more Tom Waits in this list. But here's another one. Heart Attack and Vine. This one only has 9 songs on them, but each one's awesome. Heart Attack and Vine, Saving All My Love for You is beautiful. Downtown, Jersey Girl, Till the Money Runs Out on the Nickel is just beautiful. Mr. Seagull is just him at his kind of strutting best. And Ruby's Arms is a big swinging romantic one. White Zombie, Astro Creep 2000. The best that Rob Zombie's ever done, even though he keeps churning out solo albums that are generally okay. But White Zombie, Electric Head Part 2, Supercharger Heaven, great riffs, More Human Than Human, El Phantasmo and the Chicken Run Blastorama, Blur the Technicolor, iZombie, just wonderful album. We're getting there. Earth versus the Wild Hearts. Again, the Wild Hearts just have so many releases, you could put so many on the list. But Greetings from Shitsville, TV Tan, Caffeine Bomb, Love Shit, The Miles Away Girl, My Baby is a Head F, Sucker Punch, News of the World, Drink About Life, Love You Till I Don't. Just absolutely amazing. Rifferamatastic. Then Bill Withers, Still Bill. Let me look at him. This has Lonely Town, Lonely Street, Let Me In Your Life, Who Is He and What Is He to You, Use Me, Lean On Me, classic songs. Another Day to Run, I Don't Want You On My Mind, Take It In and Check It All Out. Just a wonderful album from Bill Withers. Then a wonderful album from Stevie Wonder, but not the Stevie Wonder album most people pick. This is Inner Visions, which is just absolutely perfect. Too High, Visions, Living for the City, Golden Lady, Higher Ground, which was covered by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Jesus, Children of America, All in Love is Fair, Don't You Worry About a Thing, and He's Mr. Know-It-All. Just a beautiful, beautiful album. Again, I didn't really know about 70s Stevie Wonder until somebody at work referred me to it, because I just had the preconception of 80s Stevie Wonder, who isn't really that interesting at all, but his 70s work is really spectacular in places. Then we finish with a couple of Zappas. This is Overnight Sensation, my favourite Zappa. Again, there's only 7 tracks, but each one is a masterpiece. Camarillo Brillo, I'm the Slime, Dirty Love, 50/50, Zombie Woof, Dynamo Hum, and Montana. Just Zappa at his best. I mean, Zappa can be really self-indulgent, a lot of guitar wankery, but when he's focused and at his best, I mean, Overnight Sensation is just wonderful. Again, only 7 tracks, but every one an absolute classic. And then we have Apostrophe, which is another one of Zappa, he's most focused. Don't Eat the Yellow Snow, Nanook Rubs It, St. Alfonso's Pancake Breakfast, which I have a t-shirt of, which is wonderful. Father Oblivion, Cosmic Debris, Ex Centrifugal Force, Apostrophe, Uncle Remus, which is absolutely beautiful, and Stinkfoot. To me, they're probably the 2 best Zappas to get into if you want to get into, because obviously he does go lots of weird places, but he's so good when he's on. When he's at his best, he's just amazing. And then we finish with a couple of Warren Zevons. This is his debut. Frank and Jesse James, Backs Turned Looking Down the Path, Hasten Down the Wind, Poor Poor Pitiful Me, The French Inhaler, absolutely amazing. Mohammed's Radio is absolutely amazing. Carmelita, about drug addicts, is absolutely amazing. Join Me in LA and Desperados Under the Eaves. Just an amazing record. And then finally, Warren Zevon, An Excitable Boy, which includes the hits Werewolves of London and Excitable Boy, about a boy who comes out of a mental asylum and continues to murder people. Just a great little album from Warren Zevon, who again is one of those people who just died too early. So thanks very much for watching. If you made it to the end of this very long favourite 150 albums as a form of apology for deleting my music channel, let me know in the comments below what your favourite 150 albums are. I'll wait if you want to create the list, and hopefully you'll join me again for more film related videos in the channel. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films saying farewell.